Billy Brown arrived home from work at around 3:20 a.m. on a seemingly ordinary night in Abilene, Texas. But what he stumbled upon was far from ordinary. As he turned on the light, his world shattered. Blood splattered on the floor, and the lifeless body of his wife, Susanna, half hidden under the bed. Racing through the house, he found his stepdaughter, 8-year-old Francesca, also brutally slain. What led to this tragic night? How did a seemingly ordinary family harbor such sinister undercurrents? And who could commit such an intimate and violent act? On March 8, 1982, Susanna Brown went to an evening Tupperware party not far from her Abilene, Texas's residence. Her daughter Francesca stayed at their neighbor Kathy Spivey's place. Francesca asked Kathy if she could stay over for the night. Being a mum, Kathy had to refuse since she had school tomorrow. She did say that they could plan something for the weekend. At about 8:30 p.m., Susanna picked up Francesca, and they both returned to their house. The following morning, Billy Brown arrived home from work. It was around 3:20 a.m. He was completely clueless, not knowing what horrors lay ahead of him. When he turned on the light, the very first thing he noticed was blood, followed by his wife, Susanna, who lay lifeless and half-hidden under the bed. He moved past the phone in the living area and made a 911 call from the kitchen. Upon arrival, the detectives found Francesca Antoinette Martinez, his 8-year-old stepdaughter, deceased as well. Although it was a tragic finding, law enforcement officers observed something strange. In her bedroom, Susanna was found face up with a lamp's cable wrapped around her throat that was still hooked to the lamp. Her daughter was discovered in her bedroom, strangled by a ligature, with a phone cord cut in 2 places around her neck. Given that both the ligatures used to take Francesca and Susanna's lives were already in the house, the slayings were likely crimes of opportunity rather than pre-planned. Moreover, strangulation, as a very expressive and intimate approach at taking a life, implies that the perpetrator was probably acquainted with the victims. Subsequently, a medical examiner reported that fluid with male DNA was found in Susanna's mouth. Nevertheless, it seemed to have been cleaned off, so it might have been consensual, and yet there was no evidence to connect it to the crime in question. Susanna's head bore 3 significant lacerations, indicating that the person who strangled her had also struck her on the left side of her head 3 times with a lamp. Her white V-neck t-shirt and bra underneath were both somewhat torn. Her blue shorts were pulled down and around her ankles, yet there was no evidence of an assault. Investigators speculated that the daughter Francesca was probably scared, hiding under the bed. Based on how they discovered her body, it suggested that the perpetrator had found her and then pulled her out. It's interesting to note that Billy reported to the authorities at the time that the rear door was partially opened, and a window was also opened by 5 to 6 inches. With all of the screen doors closed and untouched, it gave the impression as if all of this was staged. Nothing was missing from the house, and there were no indications of a break-in, not even a scratch on the door, according to the detectives. For someone who had been through so much, Billy didn't seem much upset. He remained composed, not distressed, and even cracked some inappropriate dad jokes. It was at that point that he transitioned from the affected loved one to their primary suspect. Initially, investigators were interested in learning more about the victims. Susanna was born and raised in Texas, according to her parents, Nick Flores and Francis Soto. She was born in Taylor County on October 20th, 1951, and had 4 siblings, 2 sisters, a half-sister, and a half-brother. Everybody adored and admired Susanna. She fell in love at the age of 16, but the man she ended up choosing was 26-year-old Freddie Martinez, who was 10 years older than her. They tied the knot in 1967. For a long while, their marriage was filled with joy. Freddie was a lance corporal in the U.S. Army, a member of the Marine Corps. Up until the end of the war in 1973, he served in the Vietnam War. 1973 proved to be a memorable year for Freddie. Freddie's father passed away in January, which coincided with the signing of the Paris Peace Accords and the withdrawal of troops. But by the end of the year, he was beginning to see some light in his life again. On December 11, 1973, he was blessed with a little angel, Francesca Antoinette Martinez. Because of her lively nature, Francesca was nicknamed as Cha-Cha. She attended Abilene's Bonham Elementary School. Although both the mother and daughter were loved and fulfilled, their relationship did not last for long, as is common with early marriages. The couple parted ways, with Francesca staying with Susanna. With a girl who loved dancing and participating in almost everything, Susanna had a lot on her plate. It was just the two of them for a while until Billy Brown came into their lives in 1979. During an evening at a nightclub, she came across a handsome guy who stole her heart. Billy was employed at News Corp and seemed like a devoted family man. Susanna's sisters witnessed the relationship swiftly deteriorating. He turned out to be a flirt and a womanizer. Linda Flores and Rita Flores Lafferty suspected that he had been cheating on her on multiple occasions. Susanna tried to blame it on their racism and even emphasized how he was different and compassionate. However, the sisters persisted in harboring disdain for him. One night, while they were all out on dates, Linda happened to overhear an argument between the couple. She witnessed Billy push Susanna hard, causing her to fall. The couple had been together for almost 3 years. Billy was regarded as aggressive and domineering by Susanna's family. As per her siblings' account, Susanna was in grave danger from Billy. When Susanna's half-brother, Richard Flores, learned of the double homicide, he made his way to the crime scene. He recalled that Billy showed absolutely no sorrow and was laughing and joking about a bottle of whiskey Richard had left there about a week before. The way Billy was so chill and laughing seemed as a major warning flag to Richard. Susanna's half-sister, Roseanne Flores Beats, remembered Susanna saying she was hesitant about being intimate with Billy. If Susanna did not fulfill to Billy's satisfaction in bed, she said, he would turn moody and pass short, snotty comments all day long. The information that Susanna was considering ending the relationship, combined with Billy's alleged anger issues associated with intimacy, aided the investigators in determining a plausible motive. Billy informed the authorities that he had been attempting to contact Susanna for quite some time before he was finally met with her lifeless body. Investigators could formulate a possible scenario of what might have happened. His feelings of insecurity, enviousness, and control took over when Susanna did not pick up the phone, leading to a heated confrontation that turned violent. Investigators were informed by a close relative of Susanna, Sarah Soto, that during the summer of 1981, she had gone with Susanna to the hospital. Susanna allegedly claimed that she and Billy Brown got into a fight that led to her suffering a miscarriage. Investigators had a strong suspicion that there had been physical abuse in the relationship. Things would frequently become heated. Consequently, investigators learned that Susanna had once phoned the police in November 1981 out of fear of Billy. They were having a domestic problem, and then Billy was rumored to have gone to see another woman. He laughed it off with the police, claiming that Susanna had put dirt in his car's fuel tank as payback. She then contacted the police, afraid of Billy's response, thinking it may have been too much and maybe that she had crossed the line. Susanna revealed to her family that because of Texas's common law marriage regulations, she didn't want to live there or get married to Billy. Although Susanna and Billy were not legally married in Texas, they had been living together for a while and had the intention of getting married, so she was regarded as his common-law wife. Nonetheless, Susanna's unwillingness was obvious. Court documents suggest that she did not accept his last name until just before her death, and that she only did so under his pressure. A few weeks prior to her untimely passing, Susanna had sought money from her mum to change the locks. While roughly a week before the incident, she had asked her siblings to get her a gun. Richard Flores went on to say that he had some information that no one else had. Susanna was trying to leave Billy, and he became really angry about it and threatened her even. She approached Richard, confided in him fully, and asked for his help in getting a gun. It was almost as if Susanna had some sort of knowledge or insight into what was going to happen. As investigators focused on Billy and interrogated him, he provided an alibi. On March 8th, he said, he left for work at the Newcorp Manufacturing Company at about 4:30 p.m. He arrived at work at 5 p.m. and left by 3 a.m. the next morning. Investigators interviewed his alibi, a Newcorp employee named Josie Landeros. At the time, there were rumors that Billy Brown was cheating on Susanna with Josie. Josie was cooperative and admitted to the authorities that Billy could easily slip out of work unnoticed, as the nature of his job allowed him to do so. Other employees, including co-workers James Coffey and Larry Skiles, acknowledged that it was quite possible, further undermining Billy's alibi. Back in 1982, there wasn't sufficient evidence and Billy was acquitted of the crime. However, investigators had no idea that they actually had the evidence. All it took was DNA testing. The case remained cold for years until 2012, when Billy was asked again to come by for interrogation by the Abilene police. He refused to make an appearance or provide a sample of his DNA. A decade later, on January 17th, 2023, when the oral swab from Susanna's mouth underwent examination, it was confirmed beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was Billy's DNA. Now the investigators were ready to speak with Billy. He was approached outside his home and asked to willingly give a sample of his DNA. Billy denied and expressed surprise at the investigators' stubbornness, given that it had been decades since the case had been closed. On October 27, 2023, police served Billy with a warrant and forcibly took a DNA sample from him. "I have signed my own ending," Billy allegedly said, realizing how serious the situation was. Billy was then arrested, taken into custody and convicted of 2 charges of first-degree murder. A $200,000 bond was imposed on him, which he posted the next day and was released. In a follow-up interview, Billy refuted all of the charges. He insisted that he loved Susanna and refuted any wrongdoing or domestic abuse. In addition, he stated that he could not have possibly driven the 18 minutes one way to and from their Abilene home to commit the crime, since the work breaks lasted only 30 minutes. He vehemently denied being intimate with Susanna as well, claiming he did not enjoy this particular act in bed. He had no idea that the detectives had performed a DNA testing. He also suggested that Susanna might have been cheating on him with her ex at the time, attempting to divert the police attention elsewhere. He added that he had fried chicken for dinner with his family, after which he headed off to work. When detectives inquired as to why didn't he call the police from the living room's telephone, he didn't hesitate even for a second and responded with, "Did Francesca not have a phone cord around her neck?" When reporters tried to get him to say something, Billy simply laughed it off. Billy refuted every allegation, but there was a ton of evidence against him. The bodily fluid discovered in Susanna's mouth belonged to Billy, as the DNA analysis verified. Furthermore, his actions at the crime scene, such as his inappropriate jokes and lack of regret, further implicated him Detectives also found that Billy's job allowed him to go out and return covertly, which could have given him the opportunity to carry out the crime. The news of the arrest shocked and relieved Susanna's family in equal measure. With tears in her eyes, her sister, Linda, said, "I did not have my hopes up, because it has been so long, and I just thought, there is no way they can do this. It has been 41 years. To hear this news, it is just unbelievable. It is like a dream." A trial date has not yet been determined. The case remains under the spotlight, with many hoping that Susanna and Francesca will finally receive the justice they deserve after more than 4 decades.